Have you ever heard a story that's both completely heartbreaking but also somehow full of hope? We're going to dive into one of those today. It's an incredible and true story about a beautiful city, a really serious warning, and an absolutely amazing escape.
So I want you to just picture this for a second. Jesus is standing on a hill, and he's looking out over Jerusalem, the city that he loves more than anything. It's a party atmosphere. The streets are just buzzing with celebration. But as he's looking at all this, tears are literally streaming down his face. These words he speaks, well, they're not just a statement, they're a cry, straight from his heart.
And we need to be really clear about what he was feeling here. This wasn't anger. He wasn't mad about their mistakes. Nope. He was just overwhelmed with his deep, powerful sorrow. His tears were coming from a place of incredible love and pity, because he could see what was coming. He saw the tragic future they were choosing for themselves, a future he was desperate to save them from. To really get why he was weeping, you have to try and see the city through his eyes. It was Passover, the biggest festival of the whole year, and the city was just radiant. It was packed with people, incredible buildings everywhere. I mean, it was a sight that should have filled anyone with pride and joy.
From where he stood, he could see it all. The huge palaces, those massive walls built to protect everyone, and of course, the temple. Wow, its white marble and golden gates were just gleaming in the sun. People called it the perfection of beauty. But Jesus, he saw past all that. He saw a vision of the future. Those same walls surrounded by enemy armies, and that beautiful temple just a pile of smoldering ruins.
But you know, his tears weren't really for the stones and the buildings. They were for the people. His whole reason for being there was to bless them, to save them, to offer them this incredible gift of peace and life. But he knew they were about to turn that gift down. And in doing that, they were walking down a path that led to just awful destruction. He wept for the thousands upon thousands of lives that were about to be lost.
But here's the thing, even with a broken heart, Jesus' love didn't just stop. No way. Because he loved his followers so much, he gave them a sort of secret warning. He told them about a very specific sign they needed to keep an eye out for, a sign that would be their cue to get out before the disaster hit.
He called this sign the abomination of desolation. Now, I know that sounds super complicated and kind of scary, right? But what it actually meant was really simple, something you could see with your own eyes. You see, the Roman army carried these flags or standards that had images on them, images the Jewish people considered idolatrous. Jesus said, when you see those Roman flags planted on the holy ground right outside Jerusalem's walls, that's it. That's your signal. That's the moment to run. And the instructions he gave were incredibly urgent. He basically said, the second you see that sign, you go. Don't even think about running back into your house to grab your favorite stuff. If you're out in a field, don't even go back for your coat. Just flee to the mountains. Don't hesitate for a second. He knew that their window of opportunity to escape would be tiny.
So you might be wondering, how did this all actually play out? Well, let's fast forward about 40 years. Jesus' followers, they remembered his words this whole time. And then one day, they look out and they see it. The Roman army, led by a general named Cestius, surrounding Jerusalem. This was it. The moment they had been watching for had finally arrived. The Roman standards were planted right there outside the city walls. As the siege started, it must have been absolutely terrifying for the Christians stuck inside. But they held on to Jesus' promise. The sign was there. They were ready.
And then, something happened that nobody could have predicted. Just when it looked like the city was done for, the Roman general, for no reason anyone could figure out, suddenly called off the whole attack. He and his entire army just turned around and started to leave. From a military standpoint, it made absolutely no sense. This was their chance. The Christians inside the city knew. They just knew that this bizarre retreat was the window of opportunity Jesus had promised. And as the Jewish soldiers rushed out of the city to chase after the Romans, the roads were suddenly clear. The Christians didn't wait. They fled, just like Jesus had told them to, and they found safety in a little town called Pella. And here, right here, is the most powerful part of their entire story. When the Roman army came back later and destroyed Jerusalem in one of the most brutal attacks in history, you know how many of those Christians who listened to the warning died? 0. Not a single one. But for those who stayed behind, well, the story is tragic. The Roman army did come back, this time with a new general, Titus, and this time they weren't leaving until the city was completely conquered. The doors were shut, and for everyone inside, there was no way out. It really all came down to two very different choices.
The people who stayed in Jerusalem, they ignored the warning. They put their trust in the city's big, strong walls and in their own strength to fight back. But the ones who fled, they trusted Jesus' words. They obeyed the sign he gave them. And those two choices led to two totally different destinies.
And that other thing Jesus had prophesied about the city? It came true, right down to the last detail. He had said that the incredible temple would be so completely destroyed that not one stone would be left on top of another. And that is exactly what happened. The Romans tore it down, piece by piece, and even plowed over the ground where it once stood.
The human cost was just devastating. The siege was long and it was horrific. Between the starvation, the disease, and the final battle, historians say that over 1 million people died. It's a tragedy on a scale that's almost impossible to wrap your head around.
So why on earth does this ancient story matter to us today? Well, because it tells us something really beautiful and timeless about God's character. You see, this isn't just a story about destruction. It's a story about a promise to protect.
What this story really shows us, loud and clear, is that God's love is a protective love. He doesn't want anyone to be lost. This whole event proves that when danger is on the horizon, He provides both a clear warning and a clear way out for anyone who's willing to listen and trust Him.
So what are the big takeaways from all of this? First, God's warnings are never meant to scare us. They come from a place of love, just like a parent telling a child, "Don't touch that hot stove." Second, He gives us clear signs to guide us to safety. And third, simply trusting what He says and then acting on it, well, that's the path that leads to life.
And that kind of leaves us with a final thought to chew on. The Christians back in Jerusalem were saved because they were actively watching for a specific sign. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If true love always gives warnings to protect, what loving warnings might God be giving us to watch for in our own lives, right now, today?